Hello, cruel, cruel world. So as you might have heard in the news, the Met Police have recently rolled out facial recognition technology to tackle London's worst shoplifters. So basically CCTV stills can be matched against mugshots and they can match up the person in around a minute, according to the police force, even with faces as ugly as yours. My name is Dr. Shahom Das. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living so that you don't have to. In this particular episode, I'm going to be talking you through that pilot study and some facts about shoplifting and some facts about facial recognition software. Basically, I'm going to try and make myself sound clever. Then we're going to discuss the potential disadvantages as well as the advantages of using this technology. But before we get into that, I've got a couple of questions for you, my Psych for Sore guys and gals. First of all, the advantages of this technology, I'd say, are obvious. What are the disadvantages? So I'm going to discuss them later. Can you think of any now off the top of your head? Question number 2, retail crime costs the UK how much in revenue every year? Can you guess? Again, answers later on. And finally, what proportion or percentage of shoplifting incidents do you think are reported to the police? Again, I'll tell you later. I was quite surprised by the answer. Let's see if you can get it right. So the Met Police started using this software in August and began the retail pilot in late September. And they said that 149 suspects were identified within days after asking the capital's 12 leading retailers last month for images of their 30 most prolific shoplifters, offenders. And this is the important bit, some of the suspects have been linked to serious crime, and all of them had been arrested at least once for a range of crimes, from like drug dealing to sexual offences to burglary to violence to even possession of firearms. And there's even rumours that some of them were those pricks that take up like 2 parking spaces in supermarkets. So the Met Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, called the results of this pilot game-changing as his forces are trying to crack down on shoplifting. And shoplifting, by the way, its rise has been blamed on a lot of different things, under police, decrease in the budgets for police officers, the cost of living crisis, obviously. In fact, I've done another video on exactly why shoplifting has been on the increase. Go check out the link in the schmection in the description. You know what I'm talking about. Sir Mark Rowley also said, we're pushing the boundaries and using innovations and technology to rapidly identify a criminal. And this is a result of the government being under increasing pressure from retailers because this crime, shoplifting, is responsible for so much of revenue in the UK. How much? I asked you before. What did you think? £1.9 billion every year. That's crazy. So the advantages of this technology, I would say, are obvious. What about the disadvantages? What are the dangers associated with facial recognition technology? Recognized. I think the main one, the salient one, is privacy concerns. So facial recognition technology collects and stores biometric data, which is highly personal information. And there is a risk that that the data could be misused, or it could be stolen, it could be, sold for advertising. It could even lead to identity theft, discrimination, etc., etc. In fact, a lady named Emmanuel Andrews from the human rights charity Liberty said that facial recognition technology, and I quote, has no place on our streets and our shops or in other areas of our lives. This technology threatens our privacy and stifles free speech, and we should all be worried about moves to expand its reach. We're also concerned about the creep of facial recognition technology into the other areas of policing, end quote. So yeah, that all seems quite reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, the concerns seem reasonable, but which outweighs which? We'll come on to that. Another potential issue, is accuracy concerns. So facial recognition technology is not always accurate, especially when it's used to identify people of colour or women. And it can be easily fooled by things like masks, hats, balaclavas, and a change in lighting. So why is that relevant? It means that innocent people could be falsely accused of shoplifting. And there are bias concerns. So there's concerns that this system can be used to be biased against certain groups of people, such as people of colour, which I think used to be called BAME. Is that allowed now as a phrase? Will I get cancelled for saying that? Is that anti-woke? I don't know. And women and people with disability. So potentially this could be used to target those particular people and survey them, and those particular groups could be falsely accused of shoplifting. And another issue about the accuracy is that this technology could be used to track people who are simply browsing around a store or who are loitering in the area. just like you used to do in the 90s in your shell suit, trying to look cool. I know. So the problem with that is it could lead to people being harassed or accused of shoplifting even if they haven't committed any crimes. And another disadvantage, I think, is probably a little bit obtuse, but possibly relevant, is the security industry itself. So if facial technology works effectively, then there's no need to hire security guards. So those people will be, cheated out of a job by technology, I guess. And I think it's fair to say that some people, customers, consumers, are already a bit frustrated and annoyed that supermarkets have already started outsourcing some of their work, like the self kind of checkout, the beep, beep, beep technology, which I'm sure we've all experienced can be very frustrating when we spend at least 30% of our times on these checkout counters going, sorry, excuse me, over here. Said it didn't recognize the item in the baggage area. Yeah, very frustrating. Okay, so overall, in my opinion, having balanced the pros and the cons, I think the benefits outweigh the dangers. I understand why there are concerns, but I also think that the possibility of catching prolific criminals, especially dangerous criminals who happen to shoplift, outweighs the benefits. But it's not just my opinion that's important, although obviously it is. I want to know what you think as Schmike for Schmall guys. Do you think it's a fair balance? Are you pro or against? Let me know in the Schmomments Schmection below. All right, before we finish, I asked you another question, which I think is quite interesting, which is what proportion / percentage of shoplifting incidents are reported to the police? Before I answer that, I'm just going to try and beg you and encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Psych for Sore Minds. I cover a smorgasbord of material related to offending, mental illness, and the crossover between the two. I implore you to subscribe. Not only does it help me out immensely, but if you do, then I guarantee that you will never get stuck in a supermarket queue behind, that old person who's got the 50 vouchers and they're just getting out all these old receipts and just taking up your time, your valuable, precious time. Subscribe, that'll never happen, or your money back guaranteed. Okay, before we finish, answer to my question. So the answer is around 50,000 shoplifting incidents were reported to the Met last year, which is estimated to be between only 5 and 10% of the offences that are actually committed. So that means a whopping 90 to 95% of shoplifting incidents are not detected or reported, which is bad news for consumers like us, unless you're a shoplifter, in which I suppose it's good news. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this topic. Have a blessed weekend. Buy my goddamn book, and do not forget, I love you.